Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot. For today's pick a card reading, we have a bit more of a self-development, self-improvement oriented topic, which as you can see by the title down below is what false belief holds you back. So just a fair heads up, this reading is not going to be 100% fluffy rainbows and sunshine. Of course, though, I always try to deliver my messages with your highest best good in mind, and in the most gentle way I can. So if you're interested in that type of reading, join me on this dark, stormy, rainy night, and let's explore what false belief holds you back. So first up, of course, we have to pick our pile. So pile number 1's over here on the left. We have number 17, forgetting oneself. For pile number 2's, we have number 29, anger and chains. For pile number 3's, last but not least, we have number 30, calling the storm. So just to reiterate, pile 1's forgetting oneself, pile 2's anger and chains, pile 3's calling the storm. Feel free to continue to meditate on these piles if you have not decided which one calls the most to you yet. Otherwise, when you have chosen your pile, as always, the timestamps are down in the description box below and the top pinned comment beneath the video. Click on that timestamp for your reading, and I will see you in our discussion about what false belief holds you back. Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number 1's. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of what false belief holds you back. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile was number 17, forgetting oneself. So we have a young male figure here with a crown of, it looks like laurel, golden laurel, which evokes a lot of Greek references, and he has a partial gold mask over his eye. So we'll talk about this a little bit more in tandem with your other cards, of course, as always. This reading will be in two different sections today, my lovely pile number 1's. Section number 1 will explore, well, what the false belief is, and then section number 2, mini section at the end, will cover advice on growing past this false belief that holds you back. So splitting the oracle cards, we'll talk about these two towards the end. And these will be the oracle cards for the first section. And I like to draw the tarot cards on screen for you. So Spirit, for my lovely pile number 1's, could you give me 5 tarot cards explaining what false belief holds them back? Okay, well there's one right there. Spoiler alert, we got the Knight of Wands reversed. So you see that one there, and then let's pick the other ones. So for sure, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, make everything nice and neat. Let's reveal the oracle cards first. So first up from the Lantern Oracle, pile 1's, we have number 22, woman supporting woman. Together we can transcend our individual limitations. I'm going to set that one over here because it's a little bit bigger than the others. Woman supporting woman. Your Elle key for today is Blanche, she who brings light. Keywords light, serenity, beacon. We also have, that's interesting, another symbolic synchronicity. There was a crown of golden laurel on the head of your pile leader. This female figure seems to have something similar too. Is it gold? It looks gold to me. There's also peacock feathers, but interesting synchronicity there. Then your Archetypes card for today is Poet. Light attribute expresses soul insights in symbolic language. Shadow attribute turns lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. Okay. And then let's reveal your tarot cards. Actually, make that a little bit more neat. There we go. A little bit more even. Okay. First up, we have the 8 of Wands, which is the card of speed. Things being done swiftly or quickly. Card number 2, the 7 of Pentacles reversed. Feeling like a lack of hard work in some area, or feeling like something isn't worth the effort. Number 3, we have the King of Swords, the mastery of the suit of air, which is communication and logic. Specifically, kings are external mastery of their suit, so speaking, writing to others, communicating logically. Number 4, the Five of Swords, usually means a battle of some sort or conflict. And then the one you saw earlier that flipped out on its own as we were drawing the cards is the Knight of Wands reversed. Knights are the cards of taking action, okay? And the Knight of Wands, being the fire suit, is a lack of taking action, reversed at least. Lack of taking action on our passions or our willpower. Feeling like we don't have the strength or the power to take action in some area. Alright, so I'm going to look over your cards for a moment here, pile number 1s. Apologies for the silence as I put together your message based on the cards that have come out. I'm going to take a drink as well. Okay, so pile number 1s. Right off the bat, I get a feeling that you've had negative experiences in your past with groups of women. Now, I think all of us, especially those of us who are female, right, growing up, have had bad experiences with other women at times. Of course, we always want to support our fellow woman, and or, if you are, a man watching this, of course, you've probably had female friends as well, or you've had interactions with people of the female gender, of course, but whoever you are, pile number 1s, I distinctly get the feeling that, especially in your formative years, there were negative female social groups that had an impact on you. And the impact they had on you, pile number 1s, I'm feeling, which this is what I'm getting at, is this is the root of the false belief. The negative impact, the root of the false belief that caused this, is the things that they said to you made you feel like you weren't good enough. And made you feel like you had to hide your light. And by hiding your light, what I mean is hiding your own truth, hiding who you were, feeling ashamed of who you were, and feeling like you had to hide behind a mask, especially too with your pile leader here has a mask over his face, over his eyes, especially it being gold, is like, I'm hiding behind a mask of perfection. Feeling like you had to hide behind a mask made of what they expected of you rather than what was actually true about yourself. And this, not to wag a finger, pile number 1s, because I think no matter what gender you are, everybody has this. Everybody is subject to societal expectations. Everybody is subject to the things other people say to us, especially in our formative years in childhood, having an effect on who we believe we are. And unfortunately, over time, like a fog, the words of other people, like your poet, shadow attribute, turns a lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. Basically, negative speaking, right? The words other people say to us, especially in those formative years, can act as a fog that dims our light. And so what I'm saying to you, pile number 1s, is I am getting a feeling that your false belief you have about yourself, if I were to summarize everything I just said and give a tagline of your entire reading, is you have a false belief that who you are deep inside isn't good enough for the outside world, so you hide it. Okay? That's what I'm going to say to you in terms of summarizing the false belief. Now, there are more details here. We do have the tarot cards. So far, that's what I'm seeing, especially with your oracle cards. We have woman supporting woman, negative speech, something about broadcasting light, which is truth, symbolically a lot, and forgetting ourself, okay? So that's the theme I'm getting from your oracle cards. And wearing masks, and feeling like, especially with the abundance of symbolism with golden crowns, which means like victory, right? Golden crowns being like, I have to be perfect, I have to be victorious, I have to have a perfect life in order to feel like other people will accept me, okay? And I think we all pretty much at least once in our lives have fallen into this false belief. So you're not alone, pile number 1s. Like I said, this isn't spirit wagging a finger at you being like, how dare you aren't 100% confident in yourself all the time, because unfortunately, in our world, no matter who you are, your gender, your age, how, where you live, no matter what, I am certain someone has said something negative to you at one point that affected your self-image, okay? Even if someone didn't say it to you, sometimes it's broadcast to us in terms of the media we consume. Social media, especially, like with body image, for example, or with lifestyles that we wish we had, or things that we wish we owned, right? Or even, as a child, walking past an airbrushed magazine and, wishing, well, how come I don't have perfect skin like that? Things like that. Basically, it's the internalization of the belief of, I am not good enough, so I must change who I am to fit good enough. But the false belief is that you were good enough all along deep inside, okay? So, that's the cure to the false belief, I should say, actually. The false belief is that you're not good enough. The belief, or the truth, is that you are. And yes, especially with other women in your life, I feel like this is where the problems stem from in the first place. It could have been if you had sisters, maybe. If it could have been a mother figure. It could have been older female figures besides your mother in your family. It could have been social groups of girls at school when you were growing up, or wherever you maybe had met female social groups. Whatever is your particular instance, pile number ones. But that's generally what I'm feeling from this. It was other women. Okay. So, looking at your tarot cards too, let's see. So the Eight of Wands is speed, feeling like putting the hard work in, communicating, and then conflict, and then, it's so, what I'm seeing here with your tarot cards, pile ones, is, so we have the King of Swords, and he's the master of conveying to the world, speaking things, the manifestation of air and tarot, speaking things, okay, communicating things, writing things. And it's like, I think you've gotten really, really good at portraying yourself a certain way to deflect these criticisms, pile number ones. Because, yes, you have the Five of Swords over here. You fear conflict if you don't. It's like you fear, okay, well, people will clash with me more, or people will like me less if I'm not a certain way, or I don't look a certain way, or I don't have this certain thing, right? And you know what? Unfortunately, let's not sugarcoat it. It's true. There are shallow people in life that will judge you if you don't look, act a certain way, or have a certain thing, because, as someone I respected a lot that has passed on, not all of us are on the same rung of the spiritual growth ladder, is how she put it. So, yes. And there are people that will judge you. But the shining truth is, pile number ones, is that it doesn't matter. Because when you let other people's opinions override who you are deep down inside, you're depriving the world of a unique light that could shine the way forward for others. Okay, does that make sense, pile number ones? And then looking at like the Eight of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles reversed being next to it, it's like wanting fast results and not putting the work in. It's like I almost feel like you've spent more time into this alternative persona than you have put into your finding out who you are deep down inside, like your true self. Because it's like you believe that true self isn't worth anything. And two, with the Knight of Wands reversed over here on the right, it's like a lack of taking action on your passions. This might have even affected what career you've chosen, pile number ones. Maybe you chose a career based on what, say, maybe a mother expected of you. Hence that female group we were just talking about, or feminine figures earlier on in your life. Maybe, you chose a career based on what you thought was more fit for a person of your station, or your social class, or your the expectations of those around you. And maybe even you've chosen your hobbies that way, rather than thinking, okay, well, what's the truth deep down inside? What's the light inside of me saying what I want to do, rather than what other people want me to do? And so by picking your pile leader, forgetting oneself, like what it says on the tin, you've forgotten who you are. Or maybe you haven't forgotten completely, but it seems like there's a little bit of a golden mask hiding it deep down inside. I especially see a lot with the color gold in this reading. Not so much the tarot cards, because this whole entire deck is gilded, so I'm not really counting that as, you know, a synchronicity because it's all golden. But, you know, you have the golden chains of the woman holding on to each other in the woman supporting woman card. You have, like I said, the golden crowns in both your Elle Qui card and your pile leader. You also have the golden mask here. And gold, like I was saying before, almost to me symbolizes perfection. So kind of maybe in tandem with this false belief of I am not good enough, so I have to pretend to be someone else. I think you might also be a perfectionist because of it. Maybe not just with body image, but maybe also with like accomplishments. Maybe you're very high striving because you believe, you know, if you do anything less than the best, then it's not good enough. Because of this criticism that you've experienced in childhood that trained you to be afraid of controversy from others, and trained you to believe that anything less than perfect isn't good enough, and trained you to believe that the opinions of others matter more than your own voice inside. So that's what I'm seeing for you, pile number ones. So like I said before, I summarized it once, I'll summarize it again. Your false belief is because of experiences in childhood, in your formative years, specifically I think for most of you from, you know, people, females in your life or female social groups growing up. You believe you have to be a certain way because who you are deep down inside isn't good enough. Okay? That's how I would summarize your false belief. And so the false belief is that I am not good enough, whereas the truth is you are. That's how I would describe this for you, pile number ones. So I'm going to clear the board here, and then we're going to move on to the mini section at the end here, which will talk about advice on overcoming this false belief. Yeah, it's just like people said things to you in childhood that were not true, judgmental, just to take you down a peg. They were probably projecting, honestly, pile number ones. A lot of times when people criticize others, it's because it's something they hate about themselves, or they wish they could change about themselves. And instead of, you know, looking inside and saying, maybe I should fix that myself, they take it out on other people. So that's just the unfortunate truth, as we all know. But so let's get your oracle cards on the desk here, and then Spirit, for my lovely pile number ones, could you give me 5 tarot cards explaining advice for them on how to overcome this false belief for their highest, best good? Thank you, 5 cards. Excuse me. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, my lovely pile number ones. Let's review your oracle cards. Okay, I'm actually going to do this one first, because this one right here, because this is a little bit darker of a reading, I pulled out my cat deck, and it's really cute, so I just want to have that like as an end cap. So we'll talk about your Power of Surrender card first, which, as you can see here, is surrender to the beauty of the natural world. Take a relaxing break and spend time in nature. Replenish yourself by feeling the beauty and ecstasy found there. So pile number ones, I know right off the bat this looks like a really strange card to get with this reading, but intuitively what I'm being told here is the reason you're being encouraged to surrender yourself more to the beauty of the natural world is because, here's a question to ask yourself. Have you ever walked into a forest and saw perfect symmetry or perfection everywhere? Or was it more messy? Okay, and then the second question to ask yourself is, did you think it was any less beautiful because it was messy? And I'm guarantee you 100% of you are going to say no. You're going to be like, actually, it was really beautiful. The natural world can teach us a lot of things about ourselves, and for you specifically, pile number ones, because of this false belief surrounding perfection and having to feel like you have to hide who you are inside. Nature can teach you that imperfection can be beautiful, and it is. Number one. And let's see, where was I going with this? 1 second. A little bit of a brain fart. Yes, yeah. Imperfection can be beautiful, just like it is in the natural world. Just like, you know, you'd walk into a forest and you wouldn't say, you know, ew, this forest isn't airbrushed, it must be ugly. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to say that, right? Okay? That's what I'm saying here with surrender to the beauty of the natural world. take a relaxing break and spend time in nature. So try hiking, go to a park in your local area, and try to find something there that isn't perfect that you find is pretty. Okay, that's my piece of advice to you. Then we have your Cat Wisdom card, okay, and your Cat Wisdom card is acceptance. Oh, we have puppies on this one too, that's so cute. Well, look at that. I mean, that kind of matches with your theme here, so I'll read the back, but you probably already know where this is going. The many facets of you all combine to make you the unique individual that you are. Rather than wishing you were different, okay, so this is like smack dab on what I was saying, okay. Yeah, rather than wishing you were different, take a moment to appreciate the person you've become and accept yourself just the way you are. Even as you acknowledge that there's always room for growth, development, and transformation, holding a loving and accepting attitude towards yourself can make a big difference in your outlook and experience of life. I mean, that's the whole reading in a nutshell. So, you know, literally pile number ones. Acceptance, accepting yourself, accepting beauty and imperfection, because every single person you've ever met has been imperfect. Humans are not perfect. Okay, accepting yourself. That's one piece of advice. Going out in nature and seeing beauty. You know, and even if you're not going to go out in nature, if any of you are creative, like let's say you're into writing or you're into painting, just for an example. Try painting something of the natural world. Try a landscape, perhaps, okay? Or if you are into, like, let's say clay arts, you know, make an imperfect tree that's beautiful out of clay or something, or whatever you prefer. Okay. So let's reveal your tarot cards. We have the Six of Cups reversed, negative childhood. Okay, yep, that's what I was saying. I feel like there are, one of the things fueling this pile number ones is negative experiences from childhood. Okay. Number two, we have the Nine of Cups, the wish fulfillment card. Emotional satisfaction. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Death reversed. Death reversed is a card about refusing the call to change, refusing a transformation. Okay. We have, okay, the Seven of Pentacles reversed again, needing to put more work into something. And last but not least, we have, okay, now this particular card is unique to this deck. It's called the Artist from, this is the Ethereal Visions Tarot. This particular card is kind of what it says on the tin, being creative, being artistic. Remember what I said? Literally just about, hey, maybe paint a tree. Or do clay work with a tree. He's painting that oak tree right there, it looks like. So reversed, oftentimes reversals are asking for more of that. You might find a lot of therapeutic value in being creative, pile number ones, especially earlier when you had the Knight of Wands reversed, which is asking for more action with passion or creativity because it's the fire suit, right? So that's, you know, yeah. So surrender to the beauty of the natural world. We already talked about that. Specifically, too, maybe look into being more creative. Maybe a lot of, you know, and I've had people that are artists tell me that part of their favorite thing about drawing people is finding the beauty in their imperfections. So I think that might be why you're also being kind of pushed towards art, is to see, because art isn't to make beautiful, perfect copies of things. It's to capture things. I mean, it depends on the artist. Some artists want to, you know, they want to exaggerate, or some artists want to be, you know, realistic, or some artists, you know, etc. But perfection is boring in art, okay? There's beauty in imperfection. So if you do choose the artistic route, pile number ones, choose exploring imperfection and finding beauty in it. Okay. All right. Number two, or I should, well, probably three by this point. Six of Cups reversed is talking about negative experiences in childhood. You might find luck if you're not already in therapy, pile number ones, going to therapy for your childhood. I feel like that would be very helpful on getting rid of this false belief. However, I understand therapy can be expensive, and sometimes it's hard to find a good therapist. I've had that issue myself. So if that is not an option available to you, pile number ones, try exploring maybe some self-help books around overcoming judgmental people in childhood, okay? Overcoming perfectionism, things like that. Topics that are relevant to the issues that you're dealing with, okay? And then two, putting more hard work into things with the Seven of Pentacles reversed, especially next to Death reversed, is putting more hard work into a transformation here. Okay, so the road isn't going to be 100% easy because when things are ingrained into us from childhood, you're basically reprogramming your brain the way that it's been operating for a long time, okay? It's basically, well, maybe I shouldn't make a programming reference, but that's what I know. Your brain's been running on Fortran or, I don't know, assembly, and you have to reprogram it in, I don't know, C# or C++. For all my programmers out there, you get it. Maybe update it a little bit to something more complex rather than the simple programming of I am flawed, therefore I must hide who I am. Okay. Putting work into that transformation of who you are, of accepting yourself, okay? Especially through the therapeutic value of art in the natural world, or creative passions at least. I shouldn't say just art, because there's other creative passions other than just art, but, you know, things that make you explore beauty and imperfection, okay? And then too, we have the Nine of Cups here, which is the card of wish fulfillment, of being emotionally fulfilled, I guess, is another way of putting that. And yeah, finding emotional fulfillment in these things, you know, art, the natural world, etc., will help you move towards acceptance, overcoming these childhood issues and transforming, even though the path might not be the easiest, but creativity will help you there, okay? Let's see if there's any other messages here before I sign off with you, pile number ones. I'm going to especially get if there's any intuitive messages here. I'm going to take a drink 1 second. Yeah, I'm especially there's something about, if you do decide to follow a creative hobby that you haven't tried before, pile number ones, I'm specifically hearing something about, I did mention clay before. Try working with clay-related art, okay? Like sculpting or pottery, things like that. I feel like I'm being told that that's a very good avenue for you to try to heal from these things. I don't know why clay specifically, but I think Spirit might be recommending it because it's something that they think that you'll take to very well and will help teach you some of these lessons to overcome this false belief that holds you back. Okay. So pile number ones, as always, I hope that reading was helpful for you. You know, like I said at the beginning of this video, a little bit of a darker reading, a little bit of more, you know, veggies rather than candy, you know, metaphorically speaking in terms of tarot readings, but I hope it was helpful, you know, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video, pile number ones. Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number twos. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of what false belief holds you back. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile today was number 29, Anger and Chains. So it's a little bit more of an abstract type image. We have a bunch of different elements. We have, it looks like a skull up here, an X, a shattering mirror, a glass. Let's see, anything else? Some binding elements and lines here. So I'm going to set your pile leader over to the left like always. Just to describe the overall outline of this video, section number 1 will be about, well, what's the false belief that holds you back, and then section number 2 will be a mini section of advice at the end, helping you to try to overcome the false belief that holds you back. So let's split the oracle cards now. So these will be down here with me. These are the cards for the first section, and then as always, I like to pull my tarot cards on screen. So, Spirit, for my lovely pile number 2s, could you give me 5 cards explaining what false belief holds them back? Thank you, for their highest best good. Excuse me. It is a very, like I said in the intro, a dark and stormy night out right now. I always liked rain, though. 3, 4, and I feel like that one right there, 5. Okay, my lovely 2s. Let's look at your oracle cards first. So right off the bat, we have the Lantern Oracle. You received number 16, Melting Mask. Allow your spirit self to shine through the many roles you fulfill. Set that one up here. Your Elle key for today is Hannah, she who listens, understanding, witness, compassion. And then your Archetypes card for today is Trickster. Light attribute, transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. Shadow attribute, manipulating others through duplicity. And then let's reveal your tarot cards. First up, we have the Ten of Wands reversed, releasing a burden. Number 2, we have the Hierophant, traditions. Sometimes can mean spirituality, things passed down over time. Sometimes institutions that, depending on reversal or not, have failed us or served us. Okay, number 3, we have the Knight of Wands reversed, lacking action in terms of our passions or our willpower. Number 4, we have the Artist reversed. This is a special card for the Ethereal Visions Tarot that we're using today. Kind of what it says on the tin, upright, it's about being artistic and passionate, vulnerable. Reversed, it's asking for more of those energies. And last but not least, we have the Five of Swords. You know, you're very similar to pile number 1s today, pile number 2s. They had a lot of these similar cards. Five of Swords is about conflict. So I'm going to take one moment to look over your cards and take a drink. Apologize for, I should say apologies, not apologize. Apologies for the silence as I look over and put together your message, pile number 2s. Okay, pile number 2s. You have kind of a double message here. You're very similar to pile number 1s. So if you were drawn to pile number 1, not only did you get similar cards, but your message is kind of similar. If you were also drawn to pile number 1, you might want to look at that reading as well. However, I'll say this, you're a little bit different in some ways. So let's get to the actual meaning. What I'm saying here, pile number 2, is your false belief here is you're afraid to rock the boat. You're afraid to speak truth and be honest about your feelings because you're afraid of the effect it will have on other people, or you're afraid of anger from other people. You're afraid of showing when you're angry. You're afraid of showing when you're upset because you don't want conflict. You feel like it would just bring more burdens. However, what that does, pile number 2s, is it doesn't allow your truest self to shine. And it also holds you back in terms of your passions, things you're passionate about. It also puts a lot of burdens on you. So if I were to summarize your false belief, pile number 2s, rewording that to fit the title, okay? Your false belief is you do not believe, or I'll say this, you believe that you have no value in your opinion. Okay? You believe that your opinion has no value. Your emotions have no value. You're almost self-sacrificial to a fault in terms of stuffing everything you feel deep down inside. And you're very similar to pile number 1s that way, where it was, they also had a similar matter of a fear of expressing who they are deep down. I think theirs was more on the surface level. Yours is more about your actual emotions and your identity and how you feel about things. It's more about your heart than pile number 1s were. That's how I'll summarize your reading, pile number 2s, okay? And I say that too because I feel what's the best way to put it? Your tarot cards, especially here, pile number 2s, are a lot about, you know, you have the Five of Swords over here, which is conflict. It's people fighting, okay? And so I think that's where it's an indicator of you fearing conflict from other people. And like, it's you fear that if you say how you feel about something, like, okay, what's a good example? Pile number 2, say someone comes up to you at work or at home, or a friend comes up to you, whoever, whatever, doesn't matter, and they say to you, hey, pile number 2, I need help with this thing. Can you help me with this thing? Or, hey, can I borrow some money? Or, hey, can I, ABC insert task or thing I need here? Okay. You're the type of person, I feel, pile number 2, is that deep down inside you might think, oh, I borrowed this person money last time and they never paid me back. I really don't want to borrow them the money again. Or, oh, this person always asks me for help, but they never help me in return. But even though you feel those emotions or those thoughts, pile number 2s, you stuff them down and you say, okay, yeah, I can help you. That's what I meant when I said self-sacrificial to a fault, okay? And so what Spirit is saying here, especially with your pile leader, anger and chains, is that sometimes anger and letting our emotions out can actually be very freeing. That's why it says anger and chains. It's breaking chains, okay, too, especially with your 10 of Wands reversed down here. That's the card of releasing burdens. And then, 2, with your Knight of Wands reversed, it's telling you more action needs to be taken on your passions. 2, you got the Artist reversed, which is kind of the same thing, because, art is symbolic of a passion of some sort, right? And so it's almost, when you get the Trickster card here, like it says, manipulating others through duplicity, I don't see that as you manipulating others in a bad way. You're not really manipulating them, pile number 2s. It's more just, and apologies for chair noises as I shuffle, you're not manipulating them in a bad way. It's not like you have bad intentions, but you're also not being honest either. And it's not a shake finger at you like, oh, you liar, how dare you, because you have good intentions in mind, pile number 2s. You don't want people to feel bad. You don't want people to be angry at you. I feel like anger is a big fear of yours. And if I were to, I usually don't go into childhood too much in my readings, but if I were to pinpoint a reason for you, pile number 2, is I have a feeling you're afraid of anger is because when you were a child, there was someone in your life where if you expressed any emotion other than complacency and, okay, yeah, people got upset at you. Because oftentimes the way we're treated in childhood teaches us into adulthood, okay, that's the way I survive, is I don't make anybody mad. So there you go. I think it could have been a parent that maybe had temper issues is one thing. It could have been a parent that whenever you would emotionally speak out, they might say things like, oh, I'll give you something to actually cry about. Or they might say things that in general would just diminish your emotions and tell you, your emotions are an inconvenience to me, stuff them down because it's a pain in my butt. That was basically the message that they conveyed to you, pile number 2, is, but what it taught you is, well, I gotta stuff these emotions down because me feeling things and having opinions is a pain in someone's butt, okay? Just to put it more bluntly, So that's what I'm feeling for you, pile number 2s. A fear of anger and a false belief that your emotions aren't worth expressing. Because here's another thing, too. You've spent so much of your life, I feel like, bowing down to other people's emotions, but when has anyone ever bowed down to your emotions? Or like, well, you don't want people to bow down to them, you know what I mean? But when has anyone ever cared about your feelings? Cared about what made you angry? And that's a question to ask yourself, pile number 2s. Because in positive relationships, people want to know how you're feeling because they want to make sure that they're not hurting you. Okay? When people don't care, then it's not a good relationship, as we all know. Because then that means that they care more about what they can get from you than treating you as a human being. So, pile number 2 is yes. Fear of anger, false belief, my emotions aren't worth crap, I gotta stuff them down because someone told me that my emotions are an inconvenience that needs to get out of the way so that other people can be happy. That's your false belief. So, like I said, not light and fluffy reading, but readings like this in tarot are fantastic because it helps us look at things that are holding us back so that we can overcome them and grow. So that you can express yourself more and admit, hey, my emotions do have value. I don't have to stuff them down. I can release that burden. I don't have to fear conflict. I can be passionate about things or express my passions. It doesn't always have to be the same way as it always was, especially with the Hierophant here, meaning traditions. Could have been, too, that this, because of the Hierophant, this is a family-related thing. Maybe your family has a culture of being very stoic and, don't express your feelings. Those are uncomfortable things. They're messy. We don't want to deal with them. And so that passed down to you, hence the Hierophant being tradition. And now it's in your hands to break the generational curse, pile number 2 is, and say, hey, wait a minute. These emotions aren't so bad, and, well, why do I have to sacrifice my emotions for everyone else's happiness? Why do I have to self-sacrifice? Those are questions you should be asking yourself, pile number 2. Okay. So let's move on to the advice section of your reading. I'm going to clear the board here. Okay, shuffle the tarot deck. Yeah, I keep hearing the term smoke and mirrors. I don't know what that's about, but smoke and mirrors. Like, oh, everything's fine behind the curtain. I don't know, too, if maybe your family growing up had kind of an obsession with making sure that nothing ever came off like anything was bad. Like everything was kind of behind a curtain and everything looked hunky-dory on the surface, but things were kind of roiling beneath that weren't so great. That's kind of maybe the feeling I'm getting from smoke and mirrors coming up as an intuitive message, pile number 2 is, but we'll set those here. And then we're going to draw your tarot cards. Spirit, for my lovely pile number 2 is, could you give me 5 cards of advice for them on overcoming this false belief for their highest best good? Thank you. Excuse me. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that right there, 5. There we go. All right, and this one, because this is a little bit of a darker reading, I picked from one of my cutest decks just to kind of have a cute thing at the end and make us feel a little bit better. So we're going to talk about the cat card in a second, but first we're going to talk about your power of surrender card. So today you received surrender your fear of intimacy. You are ready to let love in, compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. Okay, so that's kind of what they're saying here, pile number 2, or what I was talking about earlier, is because you stuff your feelings down, there's no vulnerability, or less vulnerability than there could be. And sometimes that can block off intimacy with others. It can block love from coming in. So it might have affected your relationships, pile number 2 is, perhaps in relationships in your life you found a pattern of partners telling you, like, oh, you don't express yourself enough, or if you were upset about something, how come you didn't tell me? Things like that. Or maybe you had feelings for people, but you never really opened up about it because you stuffed those feelings deep inside. Maybe so it was like unrequited love, or you had a crush on somebody, but they never knew it because you felt you could never ask them out because you felt, well, I'm going to stuff those feelings down, things like that. All right, and then we have the happy kitty card. Apologies to anyone who is a dog person, but I have a cat deck and it's really cute. So you received proceed with care. This little kitten slinking along. It really does make the reading more light, doesn't it? It's so cute. All right. It says, you are moving in the right direction, but it would be wise to proceed with care. Consider each step carefully and avoid making impulsive decisions at this time. So proceed with care, and then let's reveal your tarot cards, and then we'll talk about the advice in a cohesive manner. So number 1, we have the 4 of Pentacles, reserving our resources or energy, holding things back. Number 2, we have the 8 of Swords reversed, being encouraged to free ourselves from our mental prisons, the things that hold us back that are our own mind. The Queen of Cups, there we go, being in tune with our emotions internally and honoring them. Yep. Queen of Wands, we have another queen. This is the queen that is the internal mastery of our passions, the things that we are passionate about, our willpower, our creativity, fire energy. Look at that, we have another cat, that's cute. Everybody loves kitties, right? Or at least I do. And then we have the 6 of Pentacles reversed. Lack of fairness. Imbalance in terms of distribution. That's what I was talking about earlier. You don't have to always be the self-sacrificial one, pile number 2s. Your emotions can be honored as well. You don't have to stuff them down. They're just as valuable as the emotions of everyone else around you. So pile number 2s, it's pretty straightforward, this reading. Number 1, we talked about surrender your fear of intimacy. That's specifically when it said about being fearful of opening your heart because you stuff these emotions down so much, pile number 2s. Sometimes it might come off as you being a little stoic, or you might find issues in relationships where, like I said before, a partner might be like, well, you were mad about that thing for months on end. Well, how come you didn't tell me that you were mad about that or that thing upset you? And the reason is because you were taught as a child, you got to stuff your feelings down because those are uncomfortable and you don't want to inconvenience anyone else. And so you came from it from a really good angle of, well, I don't want to inconvenience my partner and say, well, that thing annoys me or whatever, or made me upset. But then at the same time, there are cons to that in terms of sometimes your partner doesn't know that they're doing something that irritates you and they would have fixed it had they known. Or 2, maybe there's been a little bit of a fear of love because it requires vulnerability. And when you're someone who stuffs your emotions down a bit, there's a fear of being more open about how you feel about people. And so maybe you've lost chances before. There's been unrequited love that you lost out on because you just didn't express how you actually felt. Things like that, pile number 2s. Okay, so surrender your fear of intimacy. Advice number 1. Advice number 2, proceed with care. I'm going to talk about that actually in a second. Looking at your tarot cards, we have the 4 of Pentacles. This is about reserving your energy. See, she's clutching this pentacle close to her. So you don't always have to give to everybody else and stuff your own feelings deep inside too, especially. 6 of Pentacles reversed is about equal, or asking for more equal fairness in terms of distribution of things. You don't have to be a Jesus figure to everyone in your life. You don't have to be self-sacrificial and put yourself on a cross just because you were taught to be that way. You can say, hey, wait a minute. I have feelings that are just as valid as anyone else's too. And that too, with 8 of Swords reversed, is freeing yourself from a mental prison. Okay, so they're asking you to evaluate the way that your thoughts, your mind imprisons you and stops you from expressing yourself more fully in the way that the Queen of Cups is suggesting here, because she's someone who's in tune with her emotions. She's someone who says, hey, I'm feeling this way and I'm going to honor that feeling and I'm going to express it where appropriate and in, of course, a gentle but honest manner. And so, tying back to your anger and chains, sometimes emotions, my voice got scratchy. Sometimes emotions can free us. That's what this card literally means that you picked, and you didn't know it at the time. But anger can break your chains. Emotions can break your chains. It can break that 8 of Swords energy reversed of, oh, I'm trapped, I gotta, stuff it down. And you can be more open. So get in touch with your feelings more, pile number 2s. Get in touch with your passions more, just like pile number 1s, maybe even getting into some art that explores more about what you really feel deep inside. Maybe journaling would be a fantastic idea for you, pile 2s, okay? And then in your relationships in life, pay special attention to where things are unfair and what you need to reserve your own energy. Like I said, you don't have to give. Your life isn't meant to be lived at your own expense for everyone else's gain. And then 2, proceed with care. Like I said, we'll get back to that. Intuitively, I'm being told proceed with care is basically the next time you find yourself stuffing your feelings down or someone asks you for something that really actually you don't want to do or you don't want to give into. Don't immediately jump to that whole, self-sacrificial, I gotta do it for them, I can't rock the boat and tell them I'm actually upset that they asked me that, etc. Proceed with care, go slowly, think it through. Because then you'll allow those emotions to blossom more, and then you can use them as more of a guidepost to say, well, how do I actually feel about this? And that will help you free yourself from always giving. When you think about more of okay, well, what is this actually taking from me? How do I actually think of this idea of someone asking me for money or someone asking me to do this thing for them, etc., that type of thing. Okay, I'm going to look over your cards one last time to see if there's any other messages before I sign off with you. I am going to take a drink at this point too, because you heard my voice crack. Apparently I'm scratchy today, so. Yeah, if I had to say just one last thing to you, pile number 2, is just to summarize your advice, is to not be afraid to let your emotions come out. Do not be afraid to let them outburst. I mean, not directed at other people, of course, but especially if you do, say, take up journaling, if you haven't done that already, or if that's not already a part of your routine, get mad. Journal about how mad you are about things. Like, you know, for example, maybe if that applies to you, like I said, there was someone in your childhood who told you, you know, your feelings are an inconvenience to me, so stuff them down. Get mad, write about it. Talk about in your journal how upset you are that someone told you to stuff your feelings down. Because by acknowledging your feelings, that's the first step to honoring them. And it's the first step to healing. Okay, that's what I'm being told for you. So, as always, pile number 2, I hope that reading was helpful for you. I hope the cat card helped alleviate some of the darkness of the reading. You know, I like to add a little bit more fluff, especially with some more intense topics. Yep. So, yeah, hope it was helpful. Wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 2s. Hello there, my lovely pile number 3s. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of what false belief holds you back. As you recall, the card you used to pick your pile today was number 30, Calling the Storm. So we have an almost shamanic figure here holding a staff, and there's a storm rising around her. Beautiful card. We'll talk about this more in tandem with your other cards as we flip them over. This reading will be in 2 different sections. Section number 1 will be what it says on the tin. What false belief holds you back, and then section number 2 will be a mini section of advice at the end on how to overcome the false belief that holds you back. So, splitting the cards right now, we'll talk about these ones later. And then, as always, I like to draw the tarot cards on screen for you. So, Spirit, for my lovely pile number 3s, could you give me 5 cards explaining more about what false belief holds them back for their highest, best good? Thank you. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. Let's get our ducks in a row and then reveal our oracle cards first. So, your lantern oracle for today is number 25, Emotional Energy. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. Gorgeous card. I wish I could fly with a bunch of rainbow behind me. Wouldn't that be fun? Emotional Energy. Emotions are messengers to be met with gratitude and honor. Okay, your Elle key for today is Iris, She Who Changes. Transformation, change, enchantment. And then your Archetypes card for today is Alchemist, fitting in with the theme of change, light attribute, transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom, shadow attribute, misuse of power and knowledge that come through spiritual practice. Interesting. Okay, we're going to set that here, and then let's flip over your tarot cards. Number 1, we have the Page of Pentacles, exploring the material world. Number 2, the Artist. This has come up in every single reading today. This is a card specific to the Ethereal Visions tarot we're using. The Artist is kind of what it says on the tin, being artistic, being passionate, creative energy. Number 3, the Ten of Pentacles reversed, negative legacies, inheritance in a bad way. Number 4, the Three of Wands, making plans or, taking action on plans for the future. Setting out on the journey we've planned. And last but not least, we have the Four of Swords, the card of rest. being at peace with something, being at rest. So pile number 3 is I'm going to take a drink and look over your cards to put together your message. So one moment, and apologies for silence as I create the message for you. This is an interesting reading. So pile number 3 is Apologies once again for the silence. I'm just making sure that I say everything correctly. Do you hold a lot of family burdens, pile number 3? Do you feel like you have to hold a lot of burdens alone? Because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this reading for you. Once again, apologies for how quiet I was, but it took a while for the meaning to snap into place. Pile number 3. I am seeing someone here who has had to deal with a lot of tumultuous change in their life. Especially with, calling the storm. Storms are symbolic of chaos, of change. You have Iris, transformation and change. You have the Alchemist, which is about changing one thing into another. Tumultuous change. I feel like you've had to be a solid rock for a lot of people and yourself throughout your life, throughout these changes. You're the person I feel like people always turn to when things are going wrong, and you feel like you have to bear these burdens alone and be the solid rock holding everyone else up. But oftentimes it feels like there's no pillar holding you up as you hold everyone else up. Specifically, I think it has to do with your family, pile number 3, especially because you got the 10 of Pentacles reversed. That's about inheritance or legacies. Reversed, it's like a negative aspect of that. 2, with the Page of Pentacles, is exploring the material world. She has a coin in her hands. So that speaks to me of having to manage finances, manage resources. I don't know if maybe you were very poor when you were young and you had to step up and be a parent a lot faster than most people have to be. Maybe you even had to help your parent financially hold or share burdens, I should say, because maybe one of your parents was missing from your life, and so you had to help the other parent. Perhaps you had a single father or a single mother, and so you had to be the other parent holding them up as the child. So maybe a little of parentification there. Of course, you wanted to help your parent out, but that put a lot of burden on you. And so pile number 3 is what that's taught you is not only putting your own desires on the back burner to support those around you. You're almost like the other piles today. A lot of you have very similar themes. But you feel like you have to do everything alone. And that's how I would summarize your false belief here, pile number 3. Is if I had to put it in one sentence, if you walk away from this reading right now, this is what I'll tell you. Your false belief is, I have to support others and I have to do it alone. It's my responsibility to hold everything up. You're almost like, oh man, I always use Disney movies as references in my videos because, well, I've watched a lot of them. Hey, millennial Gen Z, right? Disney was the thing growing up for me, of course. And so the character I'm drawn to is, what's her name? So if you've ever watched Encanto, she's the sister of Mirabelle, who is the strong one, and she has to hold everything up. Anyone in the comments, feel free to tell me what her name is. I can't remember right now. It's not Isabella, it's the other sister. The one that's like, she's really buff and she's really strong. That's the vibe I get from you, pile number 3, is you're that sister in Encanto, the one that has to hold everything up and make sure that the family doesn't buckle and break on your back. That's what it feels like. Louisa, that's her name. Louisa. You're like Louisa in Encanto. Okay, clicked. Yep, I have to be strong. I have to hold the family burdens, and I have to do it alone. And the reason I say that too is, not just because of every card kind of in tandem together giving me that vibe, but especially the card you chose as your pile leader, Calling the Storm. That's about calling the elements around you to help you instead of having to do everything on your own, because in using the symbolism of a shaman, that's using natural energies around you, using your resources around you, but I feel like you have had to be a lone figure, not only being resourceful, hence why I have a feeling maybe you struggled with finances when you were young, or even you maybe still do now, having to be resourceful with, doing a lot with not much. But you've had to do it alone, because I get a feeling of like a lone figure here. And so not only like the other piles today, you've had to stuff down your own emotions with emotional energy on the right here. Because when, you need to put food on the table, you can't really say, well, I'm unhappy and I feel like I work too much. You just say, well, I need to make money so I can eat and have a roof, to keep the rain out of my soup. Things like that. And so it's like stuffing your emotions down, even, not just about your place in life, but also with those around you who maybe aren't helping. Maybe, if you did have a parent that kind of abandoned you, pile number 3 is, or abandoned you, and your other parent that stayed behind to help you and actually raise you, you can't really have the ability to explore being a child when you have to be a parent as a child. And so it's like this feeling of I need to be strong, I need to stand on my own. And yeah, so that feeds that false belief of I can't rely on anybody else, because there were people in my life as a child that failed to be reliable. And so I have to be the reliable one that everyone else depends on, because that's what was stolen from me as a child. That's what I feel like from you, pile number 3 is. Or even if it wasn't something in childhood, it's a role you eventually kind of fell into, being the family anchor, holding everybody up, or the family pillar, I should say, is maybe a more apt metaphor. Maybe you're the one that has to put together all the gatherings. You're the one that always has to put together, decide the direction of the family. Maybe even in your friend groups you find this too, or, even in romantic relationships, maybe you've always had to be kind of the leader. And sometimes wouldn't it just be nice if you could just shrug and say, hey, someone else will figure it out? But I feel like, you pile number 3 is you think, well, if I don't care, no one else will, so I better do it because it won't get done if I don't. So that's kind of the feeling I feel empathically driving this for this reading for you, pile number 3 is I have to be the reliable one and I have to do it alone. That's the false belief. And so I feel too, it's like, especially the 3 of Wands over here next to the 4 of Swords, that's the card of taking action on our plans, and then the 4 of Swords is rest. I feel like you've had to sleep on your own plans. You've had to put your own plans on the back burner, put them to rest, your own dreams about the future on the back burner, because you're the one that has to help everybody else, because you have to be the foundational brick. You're the Jenga piece that if someone pulled you out, the whole tower would fall. Or at least you feel that way. And so it's like putting your passions on the back burner, putting your feelings on the back burner, because you're the navigator and the strong one. And so, I guess this is kind of obvious, but the false belief, like I said, is I feel like I have to do everything and I have to do it alone. I have to be the reliable one. But the truth is that it's everyone else's responsibility as well. Everyone involved in whatever you do for other people, if they make you do it all alone, they're dropping the ball. Okay? There's flaw with them, not with you. So that's how I'll word that for you, pile number 3s. Let me see if there's any other messages here before we move to the advice section. It's interesting here, especially with alchemistic. It says misuse of the power and knowledge that comes through spiritual practice, transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. I feel like it's made you very strong, pile number 3s. I know I mentioned strength before. And so there's benefits that have been reaped from this, but it wasn't just complete completely a loss, but I mean, it's made you a good, strong, reliable person, but you've had to put so much of yourself on the back burner. Yep. Especially, I think, with family here with the Ten of Pentacles reversed. You're the one that always stuck around. You're the one that everyone relied on. And so you had to put your own plans to rest. Now, we're not at the advice section yet, pile number 3s. But I have a feeling when we draw those cards, one of the pieces of advice is to start exploring what you want from the world now. Okay. What change do you want? Especially with not only did you get Iris, which is change, transformation, etc., and then the storm is symbolic of chaos and change. You also got Alchemist, which is transmuting one thing into another, right? Change. Also, what emotions do you want to honor now with emotional energy? How do you feel about being the reliable one? And exploring that question, okay? All right, let's move on to the advice section. Let's clear the board for you, pile 3s. Shuffle the tarot cards in a second. All right, there's your oracle cards and then your tarot. Let's do this nice shuffle here. Here we go. I've always liked the Ethereal Visions deck. Alright, Spirit, for my lovely pile number 3s, could you give me 5 cards of advice for them for overcoming this false belief for their highest best good? Thank you. How do they overcome it? I have a feeling you're going to get either the 6 of Pentacles or Justice, but we'll see. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So first up, let's reveal your oracle cards. Now, because this is a little bit of a darker reading, a little bit more deep reading, I should say, I did pick my cat wisdom deck here just for a little bit of fluff and light at the end. So if you're a cat person, great, or if you just like cats, I do have a cat deck of advice. So I'll put that one more towards the end here. We'll talk about your Power of Surrender card. Your recommendation is to surrender to what is, flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it will, or exactly as it is, will bring you peace. You don't always have to be responsible, pile number 3s. I feel like you're the type of person where if something goes wrong, or if something is out of your control, you get anxious about it and you feel like I need to get this back on track because you've had so much of a pattern in your life of being the one to always get things back on track. And so this piece of advice is, yes, to surrender to what is. Instead of fighting it and saying, oh God, I gotta control this situation. You know, oh God, this is causing me anxiety. Like, this thing is, you know, it's almost like catastrophizing, I think is the word. You know, the serenity prayer is a good thing to abide to with this particular card. You know, accepting the things that I can't change and understanding the things that I can change and knowing the difference between those two. Having the wisdom to know between. I can't remember the exact serenity prayer, but you know what I'm talking about. Surrendering to what is. Flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change it, compassionately accept it exactly as it is. That too could be a hint of how to overcome if this is childhood stemming. You know, I always in my tarot videos recommend therapy for childhood issues because, you know, I'm a tarot reader, I'm not a therapist, you know. I can help you as much as I want to or as I can try, but I'm not trained in psychology, so. But sometimes I know part of moving past the pain of childhood is accepting it for what it was and knowing that we can't change it. All right. Speaking of another animated movie, watch Kung Fu Panda 2. That's a fantastic movie on that topic. Kung Fu Panda 2. We'll actually watch the whole Kung Fu Panda. We'll watch 1 and 2 at least. Good movies. All right, your cat wisdom card here is Trust. We have a little ginger kitten. Little ginger tabby, so cute. Trust. If you're feeling torn about which direction to go in, it is time to make a decision. Both paths will be challenging and rewarding, so choose one and trust that the right one, or that it will be the right one for you. It is time to move forward. So trusting. Talk about that in a second. And then your tarot cards are the Ten of Wands reversed. Letting go of burdens. You don't have to shoulder every single burden all by yourself, pile number 3s. You don't have to be the pack mule, okay? To put it more bluntly. Number 2, the Page of Wands reversed. Asking for more energy, exploring, well, what are you passionate about? What sparks your energy? What makes you excited? Number 3, we have the Page of Pentacles again, exploring the material world. Kind of what I was saying before, exploring your dreams in the material world. What do you want out of life? The High Priestess reversed, okay? Listening to your intuition more. It's that emotional energy we were talking about earlier. And then last but not least, we have the King of Swords. King of Swords is mastery of communication, the way we express things externally. Now, Six of Pentacles and Justice did not come up, so... But I would not have been surprised, because those cards are about fairness and justice, as they kind of, it says on the tin, but these are also very relevant and helpful to your message here. So just to reiterate, the false belief you have, pile number 3, is I have to be the reliable one. Everything depends on me and I have to do it alone. So advice number 1 to fix that false belief is, with your pile leader calling the storm, calling on the elements around you, do not be afraid to ask for help from others. You don't have to do it all alone. Use your resources around you to ask for more help. Because you don't have to be Atlas holding up the world on your own shoulders all alone. Okay, pile number 3s. Surrender to what is, letting go of the illusion of control. Letting go of pain of the past by accepting it for what it is and knowing we can't change it. What matters is today, not yesterday. Okay. Trust, which was talking about having trust in your decisions. Choose a path and trusting that it's the right one for you. That, I believe, speaks to your path after you decide to maybe start asking for more help from other people. Okay. Because I think you might have an initial issue of, oh God, I asked someone else for help. Oh no, God, are they going to get mad at me? Like I'm always the reliable one. Or maybe it's, oh God, I asked someone else for help and are they going to get it done right? What if they mess it up and because I wasn't the one doing it? Trust that things will be done fine. Or even if they're not done fine, it's not the end of the world. Surrender to what is, okay? Letting go of that control so that you can relieve your burdens. Ten of Wands reversed there, pile number 3 is okay. Explore your passions more with the Page of Wands reversed, especially like we were saying earlier. If you had to put a lot of your dreams and passions on the back burner, pile 3s, now is the time they're encouraging you. Explore those more here with the Page of Wands. Is there something that you always wanted to do but you never did because you felt like you had to be the reliable one? You always had to be down to earth instead of being up in the clouds, okay? Put your head in the clouds for a little bit, okay? What's your dream? Especially too, if it's in tandem with something in the material world, like starting a business, maybe moving to a certain place, especially with the Page of Pentacles here. That being the earth suit, the things around us physically. Explore those dreams a little bit. And if you do decide to take that path, trust that it was the right one. King of Swords. He's the master of communication, external manifestation of the element of air. Do not be afraid to speak out, pile number 3s. If you are suffering under too much burden, Ten of Wands reversed, say something about it. Say, hey, you know what? I'm a human being. I'm not a pillar. So everyone, get off your butts and help me, to put it lightly, right? Because you're not, you're not Atlas holding the world up, like I said before, okay? Speak out about it. Last but not least, the High Priestess reversed is the card of listening to yourself and your intuition more. I have a feeling that you understand where you're overburdened more than you think you do, or you just maybe don't listen to it, you stuff it down because you think, well, I got to be the reliable one. They're saying to honor that more, especially in tandem with your emotional energy card you had earlier, which I'll pull out again. Honoring your emotions, honoring your feelings. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. Don't stuff the feelings down. Say, hey, you know what? My family wanted me to put together this whole thing and no one else is lifting a finger. That makes me mad. Okay, that's an emotion. That's a guidepost for you to listen to. Okay, well, why are you mad? Well, because I have to do everything alone. And then you explore that further and say, okay, well, why am I mad that I have to do everything alone? And that answer probably will be something to the extent of, because I feel like these other people aren't valuing my time. Or they're not valuing myself as a human being in terms of, you know, they're being selfish, I guess is probably a more concise way of putting it. Okay. Following those emotions and saying, okay, where does this emotion lead me? Okay, like a North Star. Okay, keep following it. Where does it go? Keep asking questions. What do I feel? I'm mad. Well, why am I mad? Well, I'm mad because ABC. Okay. Well, why ABC? And keep exploring those things, listening to that intuition deep down so that you can release those burdens with the 10 of Wands reversed, okay? And free up more time for yourself. You don't always have to be Louisa from Encanto, okay? Her whole lesson was learning, hey, I don't have to be the family pillar holding everything up by myself. I don't have to be the strong one. I can take a break too. So that's my message for you today, pile number 3. So, right, as always, I hope that reading was helpful for you. I hope the kitten helped alleviate some of the darkness of the reading, the deepness. Kitties make things happy, right? At least for me, so I thought I'd have a cat card. Anyways, hope it was helpful for you. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I wish you hope to see you in the next video. I forgot my script there. See you in the next video, pile number 3. Is that right? Bye.